Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, thank you, Krishna. So today we're going to be reading from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text number 7. Om Gyanartimiyandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakchurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitanyena Bhutaye Swayam Rupa Kadadmayam Dadati Sva Padantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadavatam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Dapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavan Esvari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripre Vansha Kalpa Drubescha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm going to just turn up the volume slightly. So before I begin speaking, I'd like to seek your blessings so that I'm able to speak something worthwhile, and also from those who may be listening online. Thank you. And to invoke the blessings of the Supreme Lord also. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're going to first start with the Sanskrit recitation, and then we're going to read the purport and the translation. Yasvindriyani manashaha niyamya yarabate arjuna karmendriya karma yogam ashakta sa vashishyate. Yasvindriyani manasa niyamam yarbate Arjuna karmendriya karma yogam ashakta sa vashishyate. Yasvindriyani manasa niyam yarabate Arjuna karmendriya karma yogam ashakta sa vashishyate. Yasvindriyani manasa niyamya rabate Arjuna karmendriya karma yogam ashakta sa vashishyate. So, I'm not sure if anyone would like to try the recitation. Yeah, okay, no worries. So the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. And the purport: instead of becoming a pseudo-transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living and sense enjoyment, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life, which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. Thus, the prime svarta gati, or goal of self-interest, is to reach Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashram is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life as prescribed in the Shastras and continue carrying out his business without attachment, and in that way make progress. A sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show-bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. So I'll just read the translation again. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga in Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. So just to recap on the previous verse, which was 3:6, and the translation of that is, one who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on sense objects certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. So in this previous verse, we can see that it's actually speaking about one who's actually practicing devotional service or trying to actually control the senses. But there's many different processes of actual sense control. But the point is that it depends what our intention is. And this is the point that Srila Prabhupada is making in this purport. So the point is that it's Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, yogam tesam yogam asatata yogam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayantite. So he says, the one who is constantly devoted to serving me with love and devotion, I'll give him the understanding by which he can come to me. So Krishna is saying that he will give us the intelligence, but what Krishna is saying is basically our sincerity, and what Krishna wants is he wants our love, he wants our heart in that sense. And this is the whole way this material world is actually situated, is set up, is that we're in this material world, and it's not that we're here just to be punished, it's actually that Krishna wants our love. So we may see that there's karma, good and bad reactions. This world is a world of duality. But the thing is that this world is like it's been described as like a prison house or a hospital. So the thing is that we're here until we can actually become reformed or better and cured, and then actually to transcend and just to leave this world behind. So that's the goal of liberation. But the point is that in this world of duality, there is the karmic, the cycle of birth and death, and the cycle of for every action there's a reaction and so on. So this is karma. And the point is that this is the way the material world is set up, is that Krishna has set up the material world in such a way that it will provide reactions so that we can actually literally come to our senses and then realize something has to change, and that's the whole point. But it's not just to punish us because we're bad. It's that Krishna, he wants our full attention, and so it's his mercy actually, this whole material world. And someone actually challenged Srila Prabhupada, if God is all powerful, why did he set up this material world? Why is this material world here where bad things happen and so on like that? And then the answer was, Srila Prabhupada very quickly replied, because you wanted it. So it's not Krishna, it's our own, we have to admit that it's actually our own fault, and it's our own, we have to take the responsibility. So that's the point, is that Krishna is very merciful, and this material world is set up to actually facilitate our desire to be independent of Krishna and to enjoy independently. So in this material world, the living entity has primarily two functions, or in terms of their psychology, two main psychological aspects. And this is that they want to be the controller and the enjoyer. But Krishna is the controller and the enjoyer. And so it's never going to work. It's said that Krishna Surya Sama Maya Hadi Andikara Tahan Krishna Yahan Nahi Mayara Adikara, is that Krishna is just like the sun, and that Maya is just like darkness. And so it says, if the sun is present, then what question is there of darkness? So this is this material world, is that everything is actually, the very minute we go away from Krishna, then naturally darkness is there. But when we have Krishna in our lives, then naturally the light will come, and with the light will be our actual bewilderment, and delusion will subside. So as it mentions in the purport, it talks about Lord Vishnu, and that's the goal, to reach Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu, this is a Vishnu Tattva. So Lord Vishnu is non-different than Krishna. It's Krishna himself. But the thing is, it's just Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam, that Krishna is the original, the supreme person. But he has different expansions, and so he's unlimited. But there's a difference between, this is called Vishnu Tattva. So this is the supreme Tattva of God. But in terms of the actual individual living entities, we're Jiva Tattva. So this means that we're individual souls separate from God. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mame Vamsa Jiva Loke Jiva Buddha Sanatana, that all these living entities are my eternal fragmental parts and parcels. So when he says fragmental parts and parcels, it doesn't mean that it's just the English word that is used, but we're completely independent. It's not as if we're cut off from Krishna, but we emanate from Krishna. And Krishna ultimately has a plan for us. And we have an eternal, what Srila Prabhupada describes as a constitutional position. And the Sanskrit word is sarup. So this means that eternally we're servitors of Krishna, and this is where we can actually, where we're meant to be. So in this material world, it's not a natural place for a spirit soul. Srila Prabhupada said that this material world is no fit place for a gentleman, because it's just the nature of this material world is that it's not the most civilized place at the best of times, and this is Kali Yuga, which is there's 4 different ages, and this is the darkest of the ages. So this is the age which is known as the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So in this age, it's naturally expected that there's going to be many more conflicts and stuff throughout the world, and this we can clearly see that with the world situation, it's full of a very chaotic environment. So as I was saying, in terms of liberation, so the goal is liberation, but the goal is Lord Vishnu, which and this means liberation. But for one who's actually a devotee of Krishna, they're not so interested in liberation, because when one actually serves Krishna, that's actually automatically liberation. That when they're serving Krishna, that means that they're transcendently situated, and so one is not so concerned about that. But it mentions about Varna and Ashram, so this is mentioned in the purport also. So there are 4 Varnas and 4 Ashrams. So in terms of actual one's life, we have the brahmachari, grihasta, vanaprastha, and sannyas. So this is the devotional aspect of one's life. And then there's the Sudra, the Varnas, which is the Sudra, the Vaishya, the Kshatriya, and the Brahmana. So in this, and just to clarify what these actually are. So these are the laborer class, the mercantile class, the warrior class, and the priestly class. So these are the 4 divisions of society. And this is not just, they say that this, even though we don't see it like so presently in the society now, but the thing is that these 4 divisions are always there. So they're part of Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda ki, Shri Sita Ram Laxman Hanuman ki, Shri Shri Gauranitai ki. So these 4 different divisions of human society are always there. It's just that they're not being properly utilized, and that's why society is in the chaos that it is. Srila Prabhupada, he stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that immediately we should just reinsert these 4 divisions of society. So we should just completely overhaul the current system, because in this system it's described as like a body, and the different parts are like the body. You have for example, the Vaishya class is like the stomach or the belly, which will provide strength to the rest of the body. The warrior class is like the arms, the Brahmana is like the head, and the Sudra is like the feet or the legs. So that they all work harmoniously together. But the problem is that in India this division of society was in place, but it was not how it should be. It became more of a prestigious thing rather than the actual meaning of it. So people became not the real meaning of it was lost, and became more attached to social position and things like this, instead of the actual proper harmonious, whereby all these divisions would actually, where everyone will be very happy, because it's just they're naturally in the position where they like to actually serve, and then they can actually just be content and have a happy mind and engage in devotional service. So the point is that, for example, if one is naturally inclined to be a laborer, as we can see in today's world, many people, they say, if I'm doing paperwork or things like this, it's just not me. So people are actually very happy to be laborers and so on. And likewise, business, it's just like people they naturally have their nature, but it's people's ego, people's false prestige, which will actually create a whole dysfunction in the social order. And the thing is that when one is a devotee, when one is a Vaishnav, they transcend that order, and basically it's all the same, it's all just service. So there is no actual designation for a Vaishnav. And this is exactly what Krishna consciousness is all about. Srila Prabhupada, he many times use this word, is to actually do the needful. So this is what what a devotee is about. For example, one may study the scriptures, and then one may clean the toilets and so on, and it's just all the same. So it's simply just to please Krishna. So and this is the way then of actual spiritual growth, the whole system of Varnashram Dharma. So it's about actually elevating our consciousness. And in the current social system, that's what's missing, is that there is no learned class, there is no priestly class. Even as we could see in Europe, they had it somewhat before, when they had, like, for example, the priestly class would give advice to the ruling class, like the kings and so on. So I know in Europe before, the kings had to actually get the blessings of the Pope and so on, like that, in medieval Europe and so on. So this is like, it's not exactly, it was somewhat Varnashram Dharma, but probably it wasn't still on the level of the Vedic scriptures in that sense. So, and one point to mention is this verse, Sarvapadi Vinirmuktam Tatprati Vena Nirmalam Rishikena, Rishikena, Sevanam Bhaktiruchite, it is that when we actually engage in devotional service, there are actually two things which happen, and that is that our senses become purified, and then that we become free from all material designations. So all material designations means that, that I am this body, I am from such and such a place, nationality, community, society, and so on. It's just that we don't identify with them as being ourselves. We know that we become on what's called, in terms of transcendently situated, is that we identify with being a spirit soul. So this is what is actually missing in today's world, and when one is actually engaged in devotional service and identifying themselves in their swarup as that eternal servitor, which we all are, and that's just what's missing. Everything is on the bodily platform, and that means that there's never going to be unity, because people identify with their body, with their family, with their society, with their country, and so we have so many different countries, and we can see that everyone is naturally in a force to compete with each other economically and so on. So Srila Prabhupada, he spoke about he was talking about the United Nations, and it mentions that there's even more flags and more countries now are part of the United Nations. Then he said, this is not the United Nations, because if the more and more flags shows that there's less unity actually. So in terms of our unity, the closer we can get to unity is to have one flag, and that's actually unity. So we can see in the Mahabharata that the time of King Yudhisthira, that he was actual emperor of the world, and the whole world was everyone under his rule was actually peaceful and so on. And so this is examples in the scriptures of the system of Varnashram Dharma, and we have examples of King Prithu as well, that everyone was very much, and Lord Ramachandra as well, is that everyone was very happy, and it said that actually nobody would suffer. And the thing is that in a society of this nature, it's not that they just look after the human beings. They see the whole society is everyone, the animals, the trees, the plant, which are all spirit souls, part and parcel of God, and they all have to be given due respect as well. So that's the proper system of Varnashram Dharma, and that's the way we can actually have peace and prosperity. So Srila Prabhupada, he mentions that, for example, in terms of meat eating, that naturally as a result of karmic reaction, when people are eating meat and so on, the karma accumulates, and this is what actually leads into such things as wars and famines and different things like this, is a result of accumulated karma. So from the actual scriptural perspective, actual peace in the world, and it can only be on the basis where the soul, on the level of the soul, and that the soul is eternally a servant of Krishna. So everything has to be Krishna centered, rather than centered. So we have to serve Krishna rather than our senses. And of course, we also our own body it's really Krishna's. Everything is Krishna's ultimately. So the idea is that we look after ourselves nicely, maintain our body, only so we can actually serve Krishna. So, for example, we have the Paramatma in our heart. So the Supreme Lord is in everyone's heart, and so this body, that's you might have heard that is like a temple, and so in one sense the Lord is within the heart. So we have to actually, respect that, and respect all living entities, whether it's animals, trees, everything, because it's all sacred. So I'd like to ask if there's any questions. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so just one thing I'd like to mention just before we finish up in the class is that I mentioned about this age of Kali Yuga. I mentioned about service, devotional service, but I didn't elaborate fully on the actual solution. So in the scriptures it's mentioned about the Yuga avatar, the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and so on. So Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu it's Lord Krishna himself, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he advented himself 500 years ago in West Bengal, Navadvipa, Mayapur area, and so this is when the Renaissance was happening in Europe. This was the biggest spiritual renaissance was happening in India, actually, is that he inaugurated the Sankirtan movement. And throughout the scriptures there's references, so many references to the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is called, yes, the Maha Mantra, or the great mantra. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam it's mentioned about these different ages as well, and there's different processes for these different ages. So in this scripture it's mentioned, in this current age which we are in now, which is the age of Kali Yuga, the process for everyone in this age is what's called Hari Sankirtan, and this is the chanting of the holy names of God. So we can see that it's throughout many traditions throughout the world, they chant the holy names of God. I'm not so familiar, but I heard a scholar speaking that even this temple in Jerusalem, which is the Temple of Solomon, it has inscriptions on the wall saying that it's a house for the name of God, and things like this. And there's many different references throughout many different scriptures and so on. But what we take as the supreme authoritative scriptures, the Vedic scriptures, they specifically mention the chanting of the Lord's holy names and the Maha Mantra and the Yuga Avatar and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here by his personal example as a devotee, and he chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, or the names of Krishna, and by his example he spread the names and the Sankirtan movement. He helped to spread it throughout India and so on like that. So this is the process for this age. I'm not sure if anyone has heard of this mantra, which goes Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the meaning of this mantra is that it's a very simple prayer that we're saying, my dear Lord, please engage me in your devotional service. So that's what we're praying for. It's a very simple prayer, but that's our, as I mentioned earlier, is our constitutional position, and that's what we're meant to do, and that's the only solution, as it's said in the scriptures, that about the chanting of this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the holy names of the Lord. There is no other way. There is no other way. There is no other way. So this is the process recommended for this age, because other processes may work for some, but in this age of Kali Yuga, it's things are in a more chaotic condition, and we have a more short-lived life, which is more characterized by more sometimes struggle and so on through the way of the condition of this world. So it's not practical for all people of all places to actually be like yogis in the forest, meditating and so on like that. So this is the Lord Krishna's mercy, is that, as is mentioned in the purport, even in terms of the Varnashram system and so on, that it's much more better for one to be to simply, to sweep the street, and as long as their intention is to ultimately come to Krishna, than to be a show bottle yogi. So for any person in any walk of life, this is the very practical way of actually engaging in the Lord's service, and a very simple process, which Sri Prabhupada describes as singing, dancing, and feasting. So singing, dancing in kirtan, and honoring the Lord's prasadam, the Lord's mercy. So thank you very much, and this is the end of the Bhagavad Gita class, and we'll have Gaur Arti at 7. Okay. Bhagavad Gita ki, Sri Prabhupada ki, Jai. All glories to Temple devotees. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
কি বজয় জয় গৌরা চন্দে আরতি কো শোভা কি বজয় জয় গৌরা চাঁদে রতি কো শোভা জানাভি ততবনে জগমনলো ভাজা জানাভি ততবনে জগমনলো দক্ষিণে নিতাই চাঁদ বামে গদাধার দক্ষিণে নিতাই চাঁদ বামে গদাধার দক্ষিণে নিকটে অদ্বৈতাশ্রিনী वास छत्रधारा निकटे अद्वैताश्रिनी वास छत्रधारा বসে আছে গৌরা চাঁদ রত্ন সিংহাসনে আরতি করে না ব্রহ্ম আদি দেবগণে আরতি করে না ব্রহ্ম बाजे बाजे करताला कृष्ण प्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामीति नामिने नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपदाय नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे निर्विशेष जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौरा भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम की जय, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। Hare Krishna, we will do the Narasimha prayer now, so please sit down.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Pralada Ladayine. Hiranyakashipur Bhakshaha. Shilatan kana khalaye. Ito Narsingha parato Narsingha. Yato yato yamitato Narsingha. Vahe Narsingho Hridaye Narsingho. Narsinghamadhyam Sharanam Prapadye. Narasinghamadhyam Sharanam Prapadye. Avkara Kamala Vare Nakha Adbhuta Shringam Lalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringa Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. नृसिंहदेव भगवान की, प्रहलाद महाराज की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे।
Saturday out of the Hare Krishna Mataji.